Hello, welcome back. Or if you are new here, my name is Delian. This is the channel where we explore becoming the main character of our own lives through lots of different things, including the Enneagram and style. And today I'm going to be talking about Enneagram and our stress number and how you can use that to approach your style in a way that can be soothing, empowering, or just even give you some more awareness. And if you don't know anything about the Enneagram, that's okay. I've got a couple other videos where I do a basic overview of each of the 9 types, including giving some character examples so you can get a real flavor and insight that way to how each of the types move through their lives, the story that they tell themselves, essentially. And if you've clicked on this video and you're into the Enneagram and you're like, style? Okay, hear me out. I used to think that caring about style made me vapid. And now how I approach style is simply that I get to tell myself every day a story of what I want to experience about myself with what I choose to do with my appearance, and also have an impact, share a story with the people around me. And I think that's all that style is. It's a storytelling tool. And I think that because the Enneagram is also the story we tell ourselves about ourselves, that style has a really significant overlap here. Loud motorcycle going by. So I think that when we can have more self-acceptance, which I think the Enneagram does, and awareness, again, something the Enneagram does, and then agency, which is choosing to move where we want to go. I think style is something that we can really utilize in order to take that self-acceptance, that self-awareness, and do something every single day to be more empowered and more in alignment with the story we want to be telling ourselves and the world, which I think is really, really cool. And today I'm going to be talking about the stress move of each of the types and how you might utilize style to, again, move through that stress in a more empowering way. There are lots of conversations out there in the Enneagram world about the stress and security number. And the idea is that you have your core type, your core number, and when you are in stress, you pick up tools at a different number. And when you're in security, you pick up tools at another number. And some people have called that, there's a thunderstorm rolling in, which I'm so here for. But if you hear thunder, it will just be a part of this video. There are some people out there who talk about the security and stress number being the integration or our health number, and the stress number being the disintegration or our unhealthy number. I don't actually think that's accurate, which is great because I also don't think it's as empowering. I believe that it's really natural for us to feel stress or security, and there are ways to do that that are effective and empowering, or ineffective and where we become a victim, or on the other side with security, I think that there's ways that we can do that in effective and healthy ways that make us more empowered. And there's also ways where we can do it in really harmful ways, which I think it would be essentially becoming a villain. So if you want to know more about this concept, Around the Circle podcast has some great information. I'll put some of their stuff in the description below. But I'm going to be talking about how to use your stress number and style in a way that's empowering. I may touch on how it can look when we get into what I like to think of as like chronic stress, or using it in a way where we're not able to move back into a sense of balance and centeredness. But I personally think, and when in the future I have videos I want to do about doing like deep dives into characters and their Enneagram arc. But I believe that heroism, or to be a heroine, is to be experiencing stress in a really empowering way. And I just think that's really, really fun. So if there are characters that you love, put them down in the description, and I'll see if they can end up being in the rotation in the future for Enneagram uh, exploration deep dives. Okay, I'm gonna start with Enneagram ones. And again, I'm not going to go into like all of the details of how each of the numbers operate because we've covered that in other videos, but I'll give a little bit of flavor. So ones are part of the body triad. Their operating system tells them something along the lines of, I need to be good, right, proper. I need to earn my sense of being a moral, good, proper person. What that looks like for each Enneagram type, Enneagram 1 can be different, but that is the mechanism of how they think they'll get what they want in life. We can see real pros and cons to that, right? Which is how all of the numbers work. But when ones get stressed, which I think probably usually happens from doing a lot to manage their inner world so that they control their emotions, their thoughts, how they experience themselves in a way that's moral and good and right. And they are also doing things in their environment to improve and make things better. And other people aren't, or they're taking on too much, right? They can get burned out. And when ones are stressed, they go into 4. They pick up some tools at 4 space. What are 4s? 4s are in the heart triad. They're a withdrawing stance. So ones essentially get to access more of their emotional terrain, maybe even some of the darker emotions that they don't really generally want to deal with, which I understand. And also to withdraw, to take a step back, to not be doing all the time or earning all the time. And here, I think that ones can utilize style when they get into 4 space for 2 things. One is, how are you feeling? And what information is that emotion offering you? So that you can actually, first of all, the emotions are generally happening anyway, whether you're being cognizant of them or not. Emotions are just information. They don't tell you that you're a good or bad person, right? And so when you can accept that you are feeling things like anger or shame or resentment or even joy, right? I think that ones can, in 4 space, accept their emotional terrain without putting judgment on it and get in touch with, what do I want to feel about myself and how do I want to experience the world? Who am I? And I think in terms of style, you're going to see ones be able to let a little bit of their own flavor of uniqueness come through. I think that there's a way where they can just kind of be like, you know what? Yes, I realize that wearing a white button-down shirt is the most proper way to show up at this job. But you know what? I'm going to put a flair to it, and I'm going to get one with flamingos on it. Right? And again, I think that there's an empowering way to move into our stress number and a way where we can essentially spin out. And so I'm not going to talk about not spinning out, but I am going to say I think that there's something really beneficial that ones can get about how do you want to feel about you? Who do you want to be for you? And choose clothing that reflects that. Your authenticity, the identity you want to choose for yourself and your own life. And again, to be in touch with some of those feelings. I could imagine that if a one is in stress, sometimes we have a hard time knowing that we're in stress. I bet you ones generally do. But if you notice that you're in, I don't know, your bright, cozy pink slippers on the couch with a blanket and your favorite TV show, maybe you can be like, that's okay. That's for a puppy dog. It's puppy dog's birthday today, so I'm getting I'm getting puppy dog birthday messages. So if you are a 1 and maybe you're like, oh my gosh, yeah, I am like watching my favorite TV show or reading my favorite book, and I'm on the couch in my bright floral cozy clothes, and yeah, I guess I am stressed, and it's just a sign, like, take care of yourself, realize that you have you probably have some big emotions that just need to be loved, just need to be seen. And it doesn't necessarily say anything about that you're a good or bad person, right? Emotions are just information, and that can be really helpful. So ask yourself, what are these emotions telling you that you need? And that's really empowering. Okay, let's go to 2s. Also, actually, if you are a 1, I want to hear your thoughts. I absolutely love this idea of storytelling through style and then seeing how Enneagram influences it. So if you're a 1 and you get stressed out, what do you notice that you do with your style? Do you get like essentially an F it attitude? Because I could see that happening, or being like, you know what? Yes, I am going to wear the bright pink shirt because that's what feels like me. Like essentially just stepping into this is me mode, which I think is pretty cool. All right. I also think that you might turn on sad music just as a little extra thing in there. Let me know. Let's go to 2s. So 2s are in the heart triad, and when they get stressed, they move into 8 space, which is a part of the body triad. And so there is, I've talked about this before in a couple of the other Enneagram and style videos, but essentially, I think that 2s probably have a bit of natural access to a bit of their 8 stress number, because I think that 2s have this willfulness. They have this sense of like, I will do what it takes to essentially take care of other people. I heard somebody say, Olivia, if you're watching this is you, that she's an aggressive sharer. And I think that's just so cool. Like an aggressive taking care of other people's needs. I think I'm saying that right. Olivia, let me know if I have that right, because I heard that quote and I was like, oh, that's so good. All right. So again, there's this willfulness that's just kind of integrated already into 2ness that I think might be there because of your access to 8. And one of the things I will say is that 8s are very objective. They are thinking and doing, and they're going to be very aware of what's right, what's wrong, what's their responsibility, what's your responsibility. And when 2s have been overgiving, when 2s have been not putting their needs into the equation at all, and this includes understanding inside of yourself that you have needs, that you have desires and wants, which I understand if you're a 2, that sounds scary. But at 8 space, you can get a little bit more objective and go, oh, these are the facts. The facts are that I am outsourcing my needs, or the facts are that I am overdoing it here. And I need to make sure that I am doing things that are also right for me and my life. And it's not to say, I think that, again, I'm not talking too much about how you might use this in an unhealthy way or a less effective way, but rather in that more empowering way. But if you do use it in an ineffective way, which, by the way, that's like how most of us probably experience our stress number until we do some work. 2s going to 8 might be like, burn the bridges. Like cutting everybody off and just like taking care of themselves in a really emphatic way. And I get that, I understand it, but I think that what 2s might prefer is to be able to say, you know what? I'm going to, instead of burn the bridges, simply put my needs as a part of the equation. Simply say, oh, this is how I need to be taking care of myself. This is how I need to be voicing what I need. This is the most just way for us to be moving forward in our relationship, because that's what twos are going to be focused on. And from there can be a very logical boundary of going, hey, I want to be a part of your life, but I also need this. And sometimes that's needing something from somebody else, but a lot of times it's also just saying, hey, I need to also be taking care of me. And so I think that when twos have access to their 8 stress number, which again, I think is a little bit more natural. I think twos have a way of being able to know like how to dress in a strong way where they're like, I am capable. I am armored up a little bit. It's this really fun dynamic for twos where they're very aware of being, I think with their style, what they wear, of like showing that they are available, at least to the people they want to be, available to take care of them, to be approachable, to be warm. There's a bit of softness that I think can happen for twos in their style. But with this access to 8, there's also like tough. And like, I just see the leather jacket, right? And so for twos, if you have a hard time knowing that you're stressed, just see, what do you tend to grab to wear? Are there things that you tend to wear when you are stressed? And are those things, generally speaking, something that is going to make you feel a little bit tougher, stronger, capable, like you're not going to be messed with here? Because that's going to be a lot of that 8 type of energy. And again, you can just check in with yourself and see if you're utilizing that energy in a way that's empowering, or in a way where perhaps there can, I think, sometimes be inadvertently a little bit of a, how do I want to say it? Vigilante mode is what I want to come into, but like justice will be served kind of energy that twos can go into in a way that's not actually getting them what they want. So just be aware of that. And because I really like the idea of using style as a way to like empower you. Yeah, that's what I want to say. If you are feeling stressed as a 2 and you're like, how can I help myself here in this moment of stress? I do think the reason you're going to stress, those tools that are available to you here to help you are going to be agency, a sense of I can, and a sense of I am capable of doing this thing, and dressing in a way where that is in alignment with that, right? Now, which I think that's quite cool. I think that's quite cool. All right, let's move to 3s. So when 3s go to stress, they go to Enneagram 9. And 3s are, again, in the bonding triad. And what their way of adapting is to say, in order to get attention or the bonding that I need from people, the story that they have is, I will become successful, and therefore I will get that need met. And so they tend to become and do a lot to make sure they are perceived as successful and having achieved. And there's a lot of outward movement, a lot of getting things done. And when they get stressed, they go to 9 space. I think that 3s really do know when they're stressed, because it's just such a switch. It's such a different energy, because in 9 space, they're like going to bed, close the door. It's a withdrawing stance. They're getting into their body. They're like, oh yeah, I am exhausted. Oh yeah, I do need to rest and not have to deal with anything except for making myself feel calm and chill. And I bet you that 3s are like grabbing the sweats, getting whatever's the coziest, and that's that. There's a sense of like not caring about what people think in this space, and really needing to make sure that what you're wearing feels cozy, harmonious, good, actually like feels good on your body. And what I would say here is that I wonder if it wouldn't be really beneficial to threes who I think probably avoid their stress number quite a bit to say, okay, I'm going to make sure that I have these lounge outfits that are so comfortable, that are perfect for making me feel calm and at peace. And they also have just a little bit of three energy in it too, right? A little bit of pizzazz, a little bit of like being put together. And this might not let them transition into some of that healthy chill out space that still makes them feel like they've got it. There's like a certain element of like, everything's still good. When I'm ready, I'll go back out and conquer those things that I need to achieve. But in the meantime, I am going to be cozy and comfortable and be wearing this super awesome matching sweats outfit that looks really hot. Like, if somebody takes a picture, I'm still cool with it being on Instagram, kind of thing. I don't know. Let me know. If you're a three, have you noticed that when you are stressed and you go that 9 space, and I just would not be surprised if you're like, maybe you don't even have the clothes around that make you feel super cozy and comfortable. So maybe get yourself some, or if you do, they're not also making you feel like, sometimes we can get dragged into our stress number, right? And what I think we want to do is to be able to utilize our stress number without getting stuck in it. And one of the ways that you might be able to do that is to just make sure that you have loungewear that makes you also feel put together and like you're still on top of things. But let me know what you think. I like this idea a lot, and I have some friends of mine who are threes where I could see this being something either they already do or something quite effective, so that their stress number doesn't feel so extreme. All right, let's move to fours. Fours, when they're stressed, go to Enneagram 2. So fours are part of the bonding triad, the heart triad. And the story that they tell themselves, that in order to get the bonding and attention that they need, they must become significant. And what that looks like for each four can be different, but they also are faced with the sense of having an inherent flaw or something broken or missing inside of them. So they spend all of this time trying to find that broken piece and fix it, essentially. And so when they're stressed, they take on some of Enneagram 2 qualities, which is going to be about fours can be very self-focused. We're very aware of all of the feelings we're having, everything that's going on inside of here. We're exploring. It's like, it feels like Star Trek on the inside. Like there's always a new place to discover inside of all of what's happening in here. And this can mean that sometimes fours can get a little bit disconnected from their impact on others. And in 2 space, especially going into that stress mode from an empowered place, you can start saying something like, oh, how am I affecting other people? What is it that I can do that can make people feel cared for? How can I make sure that my intentions are matching my actions? Because fours also in that withdrawn space can sometimes not do what they want to be doing in order to have the impact they want to be having. And so in 2 space, there's a practicality that shows up here. There is in order to make people feel good, taken care of, and their needs are being met on a practical level as well, fours can get some of that awareness in their stress. And I think that this is when fours can not feel like they have to be, how do I want to say this? They don't have to feel showy, or like they just don't have to put so much effort into being seen a certain way. And instead they can put some of that effort into being available for the people that they love and having a positive impact on them. And so I I really love having access to the high side of my stress number at 2 because it kind of gives me a break from needing to have everything on the inside figured out, and I can just put some more focus on taking care of someone else around me. And the way I do that with my clothes is that it's just like I don't have to have everything in my outfit fit what the story I am so desperate to have all of the pieces together to express my identity. And instead I can be like, oh, in order to have an impact on this person, I understand that I to be a little bit more approachable, a little bit more warm, maybe I'll dress this way. And I find that really helpful. And what else do I want to say this? I think that there's a level of practicality that shows up here too for fours. And I think that for fours moving into 2 space, and I'm finding memories for myself here. So if you're a 4, please let me know what you think as well, because I think fours are so different. But in terms of like what's happening internally, again, the focus when fours go into 2 is to be outward focused, focused on the relationships around you and how to take care of those people's needs. And dressing in a way, I think for me has shown up as being a little bit more approachable, a little bit more not so like having to have everything be quote unquote perfect to have my insides match my outsides, like how I feel about myself being expressed perfectly in my outfits. And that's been very helpful for me. What else? I just feel like I know I'm not talking about the low side of any of these, like the ineffective ways or the ways we can get stuck in our stress number, but I feel like this is important for fours. Fours, I think, can very easily get stuck in their stress number because fours are experiencing oftentimes high levels of shame, which is that feeling of believing you don't belong, that you're unworthy of love. And because we can get stuck here, that can lead very easily to being in our stress number. And I know a lot of fours who experience chronically being in their stress number. And a lot of times, until we do a lot of work, we're not doing that in a healthy way. And so I will say that if you are a 4 and that you are experiencing, I'm sharing this stuff and you're like, I want to avoid all of that at all costs. I hear you. I got mistyped as a 2 for a while because I was also experiencing living in 2 space quite a lot in a way that wasn't empowering. And essentially, if you notice that when you're getting dressed or you're moving through life and you feel like your needs don't matter at all, that's a sign of being stuck in I would say, the ineffective or unempowering space of your stress number. And what we want to do is instead have those tools that 2s have, which is I can practically and effectively do something to take care of other people's needs without also disengaging from my own needs. That would be what a really healthy 2 can do. And that's what 4s can get at the empowered space of 2ness. So again, if you notice you're 4 and you're like, maybe you have believed for a long time that style doesn't matter or your desires and wants don't matter, I realize that this could be a signal that you are in a chronic stress space. And so see if you can grab some of the high side of that stress, and maybe in a future video I'll talk about how we can move out of our stress number in really healthy ways. But I will say, again, going back to what I was sharing at the beginning, that I believe that living in the empowered space of our stress number is where a lot of our heroicness can show up. And I think that's also just worth noting when you think about how you might express yourself through style when you're stressed. And again, I think fours are going to get a bit more practical, a little bit less like needing to have everything from their insides match their outsides, and they're going to be a bit more focused on what does somebody else need from me, which can feel really empowering for fours. Okay, I've talked about fours quite a lot. I can't help it. All right, let's go into fives. So now we're in the headspace. And fives are also withdrawing stance. They are gathering the resource of data, and they have a high desire for autonomy and to be self-sufficient. And when they get stressed, they take on some of the tools of Enneagram 7. Now, Enneagram 7s are still in the headspace, but they are the resource they are desiring is opportunity, is freedom, is not feeling stuck in any, especially not feeling stuck in any negative emotions. And so fives, if you hear the thunder, so fives, when they get into stress, one of the things that they can really utilize from sevens is to free themselves a bit, to not be so stuck in potentially in movement. Is that a word? And to allow themselves to go, what would be fun right now? Like there's a bit of a let loose kind of quality here. There's a, you know what? I want to dress in a way that's, trendy, or like anything that feels exciting and fun and free. And I think that for fives who can often get stymied in inaction, just like fours and nines, going into seven space creates some movement, creates some, hey, let's get out of here. Let's go have a good time. Let's have some fun. And I think that can be really, really beneficial, right? Sometimes we need to shake stuff up, right? And if you can do this in a way that's also responsible, that's really great. Like I really do think that one of the ways we can stay balanced and feel whole, again, these aren't even the words that feel totally right, is when we can say, I have access to my security and my stress number when I need them. And for me, I really do like having access to the two side of me. It helps me get out of myself and into some action of being helpful. And I really, really love doing that. And for fives, I think one of the things that can be really, really helpful for them is to plan some fun, to plan to make sure that they give themselves an opportunity to let loose a little bit, to be a bit freer, to be able to say, you know what, F it for right now. Let's have a good time, but let's do it in this planned, responsible way. Because sometimes, again, not going too much into the low sides for all of these, although here I am just slipping into it. Sometimes what can happen is like a manicness for fives going into seven space where they do just say F it to everything and they just go have fun, and then suddenly it's a wild time and they're like, oops, that didn't actually leave me feeling empowered, right? So being able to say, you know what, we all get stressed. So being able to have plans in place that can help us access our stress in a healthy way, I just think that there's something here that's really valuable. I'm going to have to explore this some more, but let me know what you think. Are you a five? And do you notice that if you can plan to have a good time every once in a while, to let loose, and by the way, that does not mean going out and necessarily going to a party, right? Like I know sevens where freedom for them is simply being able to go and read their book when they want to, right? It's about not being stuck, right? And for you as a five, what does it look like to be able to make sure that you are planning that time to have a good time for yourself? And maybe when we allow the high side of our stress number to just be a part of our planned, intentional life, I wonder if that's not something that's just really healthy for people to do. So in terms of style, I see for fives going into seven just being like, you know what, I'm I'm going to have fun here. I'm going to have fun. I'm going to wear something cool, whatever that is. And again, there's just this sense of freedom that I think 5s can get by going into that 7 space. Yeah. Okay. Let's talk about Enneagram 6s. So when Enneagram 6s get stressed, they take on some tools or traits of Enneagram 3. So again, 6s, we're still in the head triad. They are very aware of wanting to be prepared at all times for all things. And when they get into 3 space, because sometimes 6s, I think 6s sometimes have a hard time making sure that what they've contributed is seen and valued, because they're very community focused. They're very socially focused on making sure that they're benefiting the group. That sometimes I think 6s can be like, oh, I'm not making sure that I'm being seen and valued for this. And when they go into 3 space, 3s are great at saying like, hey, here's my resume. And it's great. You should see the value that I bring you. And I think when 6s take on some of those empowering traits of 3, it gives them a sense of confidence. It gives them a sense of, you know what, I do have great things to offer. I have achieved these things. I am successful at this stuff. And I think that 6s, if you are noticing that you're stressed, what would it be like to dress in a way that is confident, that shows how you are successful? I think that out of all of the types, 6s might be the most, because they're so practically driven. Like there's a need to, I think, style, in terms of style, to generally dress in a very practical way, that maybe you don't let yourself dress for the dream job or dress for your actual like job. You're like, here, like, let people respect you for what you contribute. And being able to bring that into your style, I just think that could be so great for 6s. Because again, I think a lot of times when 6s get stressed and they take on some of those 3 qualities, it's like, yeah, they realize that they need to be valued. They need their contributions to be considered and to be seen as valuable, and making sure that you can, like, sometimes you can get that just by dressing a certain way. How cool is that? That's so fun. You can tell the story of success by what you wear, and maybe that just automatically, if you can do that through your life, make sure that that's just implemented. Because I think that 6s can sometimes have a hard time being treated the way they want to be treated. And that may at times be because they're so focused on, I'm dressing practically for the job, but not necessarily telling the story of competence or story of value with what they wear, that if you could bring that into your style, you might not even go into your stress so much. Which is something I'm spitballing here as we continue going through, is whether or not making sure you have some of your stress number tools incorporated into your style in an empowered way. Does that make it so that we actually move through our stress in an easier way? I got to think about this some more. And I want to know, if you're a 6, does that resonate? Tell me what you would nuance. I know you have thoughts. I know that you do, and I want to hear them. Okay, let's move to 7s. 7s, again, part of the head triad. Their resources that they're wanting is freedom, opportunity. And when they get stressed, they take on some traits of Enneagram 1. Enneagram 1s, as we talked about earlier, are very proper, appropriate, there's a need to control their inner environment and world and making sure that like they're doing the correct thing. And I think when sevens can, because sometimes sevens can be a bit like, I'm just going to have fun. I'm just going to have whatever's fun for you. I'm not going to get stuck. Like, I think that sevens are going to be the most likely. Like, if you have, let's just say that you have a corporate job and you're like, okay, the thing that is expected for people to wear is a white blouse, black trousers, these loafers, right? I think a seven is going to be the first one to be like, I'm going to wear what I want. Like, and maybe they still wear what's what's technically expected, but in a way that's fun for them. And I would bet that sometimes sevens don't get treated like they are competent or as capable, because sometimes the story they might be sharing is like, I know how to have a good time, right? And that doesn't necessarily share the story of you're reliable. And if you take on some of those one traits, which is all about being seen as reliable, competent, capable, and like proper, appropriate. Like, so again, just noticing if you incorporate some of that into your style, whether or not it ends up allowing for a little bit more balance in how you move through your journey. I think that sevens can also get a lot of benefit in terms of their style journey from getting some of the systems that ones like naturally like to use. I think that ones are probably the ones who, the people who are creating the style systems. Maybe ones with serious 2 wings, although I could see a 9 wing too, but people who are very good at being able to say, this is how this works. This is like how we can systematically understand these things. And sevens being able to go to one space is like, oh, this is how I can utilize the system so that I can have more freedom, more fun, the experience of being empowered, right? Which is so cool. So if you're a seven, let me know, how would you utilize some of those one traits of being proper or appropriate? And again, this does not mean abandoning your sevenness. I think that we're all here to be our type, but in a way, again, that's empowered. And I think that we can get a lot there's so much empowerment that can happen in our stress number. And when it comes to style, bringing in some of those one qualities of being appropriate, proper, presentable, seen as capable. How do you notice if you bring just like 5% of that into your style, what kind of effect does that have for you? Because I would love to know. All right, moving on to eights. When eights get stressed, they move to 5. So eights again are a part of the body triad. They are at what's known as an independent stance. They are thinking and doing fast, like at the same time, and they are able to move through the world very objectively. And like they are doing, they have the most energy of all of the types. There's a lot of momentum. There's a lot of literal life force that's just moving through eights. And when they get stressed, they move into Enneagram 5. This is, again, head type and a withdrawn type. So eights are going to be able to take a step back, relax, and sort things out a little bit more through their head. I actually think that eights go into 5 pretty easily. I think that this is an easy move for them, and I think it's comfortable, except for the fact that they're not doing at the same time. So they just stay there, I think, long enough to be able to gain the data that they need in order to get back into motion. And so if you're an 8 in terms of style, I would say that there's probably times when like you're thinking and doing so much that maybe you've got a little disconnected from some of what you might need, especially in terms of rest or not overdoing it. And so you're able to hop over into 5 state space of like, okay, wait a minute. let's look at all of the numbers again. Let's just pause for a second and be able to say, okay, what is it that I actually need for myself and my style? Is there data that I haven't been considering? What else should I be considering when it comes to how I implement the information that's coming in so fast that I'm doing? How can I make sure that this is actually in alignment with where I want to go? One of the things that can happen, I think, especially with 3s, 7s, and 8s, although I'll throw 1s in there too, where you are doing so much that there is this natural sense of agency that I think these types have. But if you don't take the time to actually consider how you feel, you may get to a destination that's not actually the one you want, even though you worked really hard and were totally capable of getting there. 8s, when you move into 5 space, can just pause for a little bit and decide based on the information that they can really just sort through and say, wait a minute, am I going in the direction I want to be going in? And if not, what do I need to pivot on here? And so in terms of style, again, we're going to see, I think, more likely a sense of like, okay, reflecting, realizing that this, let's just say, again, I'm using the corporate world a lot. Let's just say that you're in the corporate world, you got a new position, you've been promoted, and what you were wearing before suddenly is not having the same impact, the same story. And so you go back to the drawing board, you look at the data, and then you say, oh, okay, yeah, this is what I need to change in order to have the impact and story that I want in terms of style and also just life, because it's the same thing. Okay. Anything else I want to say here? I also think that there's like a sense of just being able to like, anytime any of the numbers that go into a withdrawing stance and their stress, it's like, it's a time for you to relax it out a little bit. Like, take care of your body, like actually just sit on the couch for a minute. And maybe having some clothes that are in alignment with that just around, so that because it's probably not your norm, right? And so making sure that it's there, available, so that when you do get stressed, you can have it and it's, and it still works for you. So a little bit more intentionality there. Okay. Let's move into 9s. Last but never least. 9s, again, body triad. We're talking about another withdrawn number here, and deeply wanting harmony, inner calm, outer calm, environmental calm. And when they get stressed, they move into 6 space. And 6s are in the head triad. There is more action here, more doing, and there is a need to be thinking about how to be prepared. And so, for the high side, I think 9s that go into 6 space are going to be able to say, okay, yeah, I really do love this cozy. I think that 9s are going to be the most apt to be like, I can't care about style and also care about feeling comfortable. And the answer is yes, you can. And in fact, that's like a really, really fun aesthetic. But also, when you go to 6, you can prepare a little bit more. You can be thinking ahead and going, okay, what is it that I actually need in order to be effectively ready for the circumstances I'm going to be going in, right? So maybe it's like, okay, you have kids and you go to the playground and you want to still feel comfortable and cozy, but it's also not comfortable and cozy if you don't have a bag that works for you and has all of the things that you need for when you go, right? A six is going to be prepared with what you need in order to make sure everything continues to stay okay. And for the high side, again, I think that 9s, if they go into 6 in a less empowered way, it might be like trying to prepare for absolutely everything in a very high level that is pretty potentially manic, and that's not what you want. But you do want to think like, oh yeah, it might rain later, so let's make sure that I have a sweater, or I know that I want to, in this specific environment, in order to be prepared means I want to share this story with my outfit and my style. And yes, that seems uncomfortable for me, because remember, 9s have some of your work is to allow yourself to be seen, allow your presence to be felt, and to be a part of the equation. Some of the 6 stuff you can have is like, how can you bring that in a way where you're prepared for whatever environment you're going into, and also be comfortable in yourself. Because I think something that 9s can do is to be like, okay, I'm gonna say that I matter, and that my present, like they're stepping into saying that their desires are part of the equation, that their presence matters, that they want to, perhaps it's even that they want to be elevated, and so they might discard all of their desires for comfort, as well as like, no, let's be prepared to be comfortable, and also presenting the story you want, instead of perhaps either saying that you don't care, or that what you wear doesn't matter, right? Who's looking anyway, right? All of those sorts of things. I wouldn't be surprised if 9s might have more of a tendency towards with their style. And it's like, okay, yes, don't throw out your basic desired need of comfort for being seen, right? You can take some of those 6 energies of being prepared, right? Be prepared to have both cozy and being seen. And I think that could be so cool for a 9. Again, I'm having like a mini epiphany as I go through all of these of like, is it not the case that us being able to access whenever we need the empowered space of our stress and security, and in particular, I'm feeling it in the stress number. Like when I move into the empowered space of my stress number is when I feel like I am like heroic. I feel so good, right? And so I'm just getting the sense of like, if we could really bring that into our style, really consider, again, for 9s, let's talk about moving into some of the empowered space of 6, being prepared, being conscious of like how you are, the value you're bringing to the group, the community, and letting your presence matter a bit, right? In that scenario. So being prepared for how do we do that? What does that look like? And knowing that you have to put into the equation your comfort. And again, thinking about moving to your security number. And 3 is like also being seen for what you have to offer. And I find this very, very, very exciting to think about. So if you're a 9, let me know. What does it feel like for you to embrace some of the empoweredness of your stress at 6? Do you have this sense of going, yes, I understand that choosing to think about all of the things that I need to have ready when it comes to my style in the space I'm about to move into, but also incorporating your comfort. Like, I just want to hear your thoughts. I just think that there's something very cool here, and I love it. Okay, so we've gone through all of the numbers. If you've made it all the way through, hello, welcome. I am so impressed by you, and please leave a comment. Let me know what resonated, again, what you would nuance, what you might add. And if you like this content, please like the video, leave a comment, subscribe. It's all really, really helpful. And I feel so grateful already, just blown away, absolutely blown away. And I will see you in the next video. Okay, bye.